We begin with breaking news this noon hour. A pedestrian has been struck and killed in Scarborough. Good afternoon. Toronto police say a woman died at the scene.
It happened at Bridley Drive and Brimwood Boulevard near McCowan and Finch. The CTV News shopper is over the area this hour. There's a live shot. Police say the collision occurred shortly after 9 a.m. and the vehicle involved did stay on the scene. The vehicle can be seen pulled up over a curb, not far from a crosswalk. Investigators appear to be focusing on the area of the crosswalk. Once again, a pedestrian's been struck by a vehicle and died in Scarborough. Police say the victim is a woman and the investigation continues.
To City Hall now in a debate over Toronto's response to the U.S. tariff threat.
And at Council today, I am seeking approval to shift away from American companies or contracts of any size and seek local Canadian companies for city contracts.
Mayor Olivia Chow is looking for the go-ahead to buy Canadian only when it comes to big contracts with the city. As part of the proposal, city staff would be asked to steer clear of American companies when taking ride shares or making everyday purchases.
And the major part of the city's tariff response is also up for debate at council. CTV City Hall reporter Natalie Johnson joins us now live with more. Natalie.
Hi, Nathan. Well, Toronto's economy facilitates about $123 billion worth of trade with the U.S. every year. And although Toronto City Hall is just one player in a much bigger national strategy against these Trump tariffs, the debate here in the chamber today is really about what municipal levers can be pulled to best shield Toronto from any economic impacts.
In the throes of a trade war, Toronto City Hall is looking to battle back.
We must come together to support a resilient local economy and protect local jobs.
City Council today debating a municipal action plan in the face of American tariffs and protectionist policies that threaten Toronto's economy.
We have to attack back.
A key tenet of the proposed plan is a procurement pivot. That would mean only Canadian companies could bid on construction work of less than $8.8 million and goods and services less than $350,000. U.S.-based suppliers may be deemed ineligible to bid on new competitive contracts when it is in the city's best interest.
I don't think this is meaningful. I think it makes people feel good, maybe. But look, if a Canadian company wins a contract, great. But if they don't win it, it's because they're either too expensive or they're delivering an inferior product.
I'm not convinced that Canadian companies will necessarily charge more than American companies. Why do we make that assumptions? Okay, why are we making assumptions that Canadian companies will do any work any slower or inferior?
The mayor also proposing a 6-month property tax deferral for industry hit hard by tariffs and a deferral of development charges on thousands of condo units to spur housing development in an uncertain economic climate.
I don't think it's going to yield a lot of additional housing, and we should be much bolder in our ambitions. Those should be much wider, not just deferrals, but actually cuts to these taxes and fees if we want to see cranes going back up, if we want to see shovels in the ground.
I think we'll have a very good discussion here today looking at how to protect Toronto jobs and protect Toronto's economy.
An economy that stands to be battered by decisions brewing south of the border as City Hall debates the best way to help weather the storm.
And one of the other headline issues coming out of this council session is a debate in which councillors will have to decide whether to give themselves a pay hike. City staff recommending that their salaries increase by 24% to be more in line with those of councillors in other GTA municipalities. That debate likely to come up here tomorrow. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Michelle and Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Still to come this half hour, we'll take you behind the scenes at a major construction project. It's a new roller coaster being billed as Canada's longest, tallest, and fastest.
But first, we take a live look at the city this afternoon as we turn our attention to the weather. Definitely some clouds, but depending on where you are, you could see some sunshine. Not much in the way of warmth. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison for a look at the current conditions. You know, it is March, but tomorrow is looking pretty good.
It is looking fantastic, Michelle. Best day of the week, in my opinion, so we can all look forward to that as we take a look at this. Still some flurry activity around southern Ontario, too, so depending on where you're joining us from, you could have clouds, sun, or flurries. And there's been some of that activity around the downtown core of Toronto, in and around Kleinburg, north toward the Alliston area. I know you've had some snow this morning. We'll talk a little bit about the winds as well. They've been coming out of the northwest today as opposed to the west. So there's also been a little bit of lake enhancement, lake effect snow, especially around the London area. We could experience gusts of around 40 kilometers per hour this afternoon, and that's going to keep us on the cool side. We're at 0 degrees right now in Toronto, below freezing in places like Goderich, Barrie, and Owen Sound. We'll make it to about 3 degrees today if we're lucky. That is well below seasonal, but tomorrow is a double-digit day with loads of sunshine. We'll talk all about that and the active weather expected for the weekend that's coming up. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The weather's too cold to open the roof at the Rogers Centre, but it's workout day for the Jays in advance of the season opener tomorrow. And CTV's Mike Walker is lucky enough to be on the field and joins us now live with more. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Nathan. The crews are making the finishing touches on the field here at the Rogers Centre ahead of tomorrow's home opener against the Baltimore Orioles. The Jays believe they have a team that can win, and they know they have to start the first half of the 2025 campaign on a winning record. The Blue Jays are looking to rebound from a disappointing season last year where they finished last in an always top AL East, though a lot of attention will also be off the field with Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. In the final years of their contracts. And as we know, so far the Jays and Vladdy haven't been able to agree on an extension. Now, the Jays did acquire some notable free agents, including future Hall of Famer and 3-time Cy Young winner pitcher Max Scherzer. He will be added to the starting rotation. Also, there are in total 8 new Blue Jays this season. That also includes Anthony Santander, who the Jays hope will be another strong bat in their lineup. He belted 44 home runs last season with the Orioles. And in the bullpen, new closer Jeff Hoffman, originally a Jays first-round pick back in 2014. Hoffman is coming off a dominant season with the Phillies. Now, the club also just finalized a $58 million contract extension with catcher Alejandro Kirk, who we just heard from a few moments ago, along with pitcher Jose Barrios, who will be making his 3rd opening day start for the Jays. Here's more.
Yo quiero venir aquí a ganar todos los años. It feels pretty good I feel very, very excited about the contract, but my main goal for now is just to win. That's my mentality. Try to be in the playoffs every year, but it's win from now on.
Right now, I think we are in a good position. The way we work and play in this spring, I saw us like a team. If we're working and make adjustment day by day. Obviously, last year was a tough year, but we have a lot of situations like injuries, hurt. Also, people don't have the year they wanted, but that's baseball. That's part of the game.
Now, later this afternoon, the players will be taking to the field for some batting practice, and we'll also have an opportunity to hear from Jays GM Ross Atkins. And no doubt there will be a lot of questions about contract talks, especially with Vladdy. Reporting live inside the Rogers Centre, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Now to the federal election campaign, and there are new promises from the leaders today, some of them looking for votes in Quebec, others here in Ontario.
Liberal leader Mark Carney was in Windsor this morning promising a $2 billion fund for the auto sector.
It will fortify the entire Canadian auto supply chain, from raw materials to finished vehicles, because we're not just protecting the present, we're looking to build the future. We're creating new jobs. Under our plan, we will build an all-in Canada network for auto manufacturing components.
Carney says the fund would seek to improve competitiveness in the auto sector. He insists it would also protect manufacturing jobs and help workers improve their skills. Elsewhere, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was in Hamilton this morning announcing what he called a middle-class tax cut.
For the first $19,500 that someone earns, no tax on that. We want to make sure zero on that. And to give some people some more relief that way. So for the first $19,500 that people earn, zero tax. And that'll give people a savings. We want to take the GST permanently off of your monthly bills that are essential. So that would be your internet, your cell phone, your home heating, and take it off of daily necessities like grab-and-go groceries, so like a rotisserie chicken at the grocery store, and children's clothing.
Singh is also promising to double the disability benefit and increase the monthly guaranteed income supplement, which he says will help a lot of Canadian seniors.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and his family were also in Hamilton this morning, where they boarded the Tories' new campaign plane. They traveled to Montmagny, Quebec, where Poilievre will be speaking shortly. He's also making an announcement regarding older Canadians. The Conservatives are promising to allow working seniors to earn up to $34,000 tax-free, an increase of $10,000. They're also pledging to raise the age for using RRSPs by 2 years, so seniors can keep growing their savings until age 73. Poilievre is also promising to keep the retirement age at 65 for old age security, the guaranteed income supplement, and the Canada Pension Plan.
And CTV's Scott Hurst is following the latest developments and joins us now live with more. Scott, affordability has been front and center this morning on the campaign trail. What are the party leaders promising to voters?
Good afternoon, Nathan. Two of the main themes of this entire election campaign that voters are concerned about: affordability and, of course, the threat of Donald Trump tariffs. And the main party leaders really focused on that on day 4. Let's begin with Jagmeet Singh of the NDP speaking in Hamilton, focusing on affordability for the middle class, specifically by providing some GST relief, and that is a promise from the NDP. GST relief on items like grocery store meals, diapers and strollers, as well as monthly bills for cell phones and internet and heating bills, doubling the Canada Disability Benefit and raising the guaranteed income supplement for those 65 and older. Now, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is saying through this campaign, don't forget about him or the NDP, even though polling is showing this is really turning into a two-party race between the Liberals and Conservatives. The Conservatives, for their part, were expecting an announcement from Pierre Poilievre at this hour. He'll be speaking in the province of Quebec, talking about affordability for seniors. And as he puts it, as they've already provided the announcement that will be coming, as he says, putting seniors back in control of their retirements, allowing them to earn up to $34,000 tax-free, $10,000 more than now, and allowing seniors to keep growing their RRSPs for 2 more years until the age of 73 and keeping the retirement age at 65. So for those two parties specifically, affordability, the NDP focusing on what Jagmeet Singh said is affordability for the middle class, whereas the Conservatives taking their message to Quebec, focusing on affordability for seniors.
And Scott, the Liberals also announced that they're focusing on industries threatened by U.S. tariffs. What are they saying?
Yeah, so the Liberals and the Liberal leader Mark Carney taking that message to Windsor. Of course, that is a city and an industry right there dependent on the auto sector. And so that is an area, that is a region that could be decimated by the threat of Donald Trump tariffs on steel and aluminum and, of course, the auto sector. So Liberal leader Mark Carney is pledging to support the Canadian auto industry, and his announcement in Windsor, just across the water, of course, from Detroit, a stone's throw away from the U.S., saying the Liberal government will create a $2 billion strategic response fund to boost the auto sector's competitiveness and protecting manufacturing jobs, to build a stronger Canadian automotive supply chain and having a made in Canada strategy to build more components in Canada so they don't go back and forth a number of times, of course, then potentially being impacted by tariffs, and making a point of prioritizing Canadian steel and aluminum as well.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst with the latest on the federal election campaign. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Next to a comment that caught a lot of people by surprise, former NDP leader Thomas Mulcair has told people not to vote for the New Democrats in the April 28th election. Today, he was asked about it.
I look at what's happening, and what's happening is that the NDP in all the recent polling is in single digits, and that could mean the wipeout of the party, certainly the loss of party status unless things turn around. Same thing for the Greens. You know, progressives are looking at this as an election quite different from many other.
Mulcair says the election is shaping up to be a race between the Liberals and the Conservatives, so he is asking NDP supporters not to split the vote. He believes it's too dangerous for Canadians to vote for third parties at a time when the country is facing threats from the United States.
Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet spoke out today against the Liberal leader, saying Mark Carney remains quiet on the value of his assets in blind trust.
He has to tell us what he owns, what will happen with it, how it could, not that it does, how it could create a conflict of interest. People have to know who is that guy, what he owns, and if facing a choice between personal interests or friends' interests of millions of dollars, will he favor the people and the small families or the friends?
Blanchette has also criticized Carney for opting out of the second French language leaders debate. It has since been canceled.
South of the border now, The Atlantic has released the entire text conversation among senior White House officials about a recent strike on Yemen. The exchange included top officials like Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and other senior members of the president's team. Somehow, Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg was also included. As the White House strongly denies any confidential information was disclosed, Goldberg has now released what he's called the full contents of the chat. It includes what appears to be messages from the defense secretary identifying specific attack times for March 15th strikes against Houthi rebels in Yemen. Trump administration officials have referred to the incident as a, quote, mistake, but Democrats have argued it's a dangerous security lapse that merits further scrutiny.
Lawyers for the province say Ontario's new legislation on supervised consumption sites does not ban them, saying those that are forced to close are free to relocate. The comments contradict previous statements from Health Minister Sylvia Jones, who had said no sites will open after the closure of 10 sites by April 1st. They were ordered closed under the Community Care and Recovery Act because they're within 200 meters of a school or daycare. The province's lawyers made the comments in court today as the Ford government faces a legal challenge from a group which runs a safe consumption site in Kensington Market.
Meanwhile, Ontario's health ministry released a statement which reads, our government has been clear we will not approve any new or relocating drug injection sites. People struggling with addiction challenges deserve more than a healthcare system that gives them tools to use illicit, toxic drugs, and our focus will continue to be on connecting people to the treatment they need.
Now to Halton Region, where police say a suspicious death in Oakville over the weekend is being investigated as a homicide. 43-year-old Baljit Bali Toki was found dead inside Montaggio Custom Tailoring on Lakeshore Road west of Trafalgar Saturday night. Police have canvassed the area for witnesses and security camera video between 10 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. on Saturday. They say there's no threat to public safety, and they're asking anybody with information to come forward.
Here in Toronto, police are asking for the public's help to identify a suspect in a sexual assault investigation. Police have released this video of the suspect. He is described as being around 50 years old, heavy-set, with a beard. The suspect is accused of sexually assaulting a woman in the area of Sumac and King around 4:30 a.m. He allegedly forced the victim off a streetcar and into an alley in the area. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
Meanwhile, police have issued a community safety notice about the release of a man they've deemed to be a high-risk offender. 43-year-old Simon Gares is on statutory release and is to reside in a community-based residential facility in Toronto. He was convicted of assault causing bodily harm in 2019. He's still subject to conditions including not to enter drinking establishments and to not consume alcohol or drugs. Police say they're notifying the public about Gare's release because of his demonstrated risk to the community, including children.
While many Canadians struggle to afford a primary residence, a new report indicates the price of vacation homes in this country is expected to rise. The report from Royal LePage says demand still outpaces supply. The median price of a single-family home in Canada's recreational regions is expected to rise 4% year-over-year to nearly $653,000. While basic affordability is top of mind for many, Royal LePage says falling interest rates have helped sustain demand for vacation properties.
Canadian soccer star Alphonso Davies is set to be sidelined for several months as he recovers from a serious knee injury. Davies' club, Bayern Munich, says the 24-year-old suffered a torn ACL in Sunday's third-place CONCACAF Nations League match against the U.S. Davies went down in pain and was forced off in the 12th minute of Canada's 2-1 win. Canada's scheduled to play a pair of friendlies in June ahead of next year's World Cup. He's expected to undergo surgery today. Davies' agent told One Soccer that he feels he was pressured to start the game when he wasn't 100%. Canada Soccer says it also always prioritizes player safety and well-being.
Now, typically we wouldn't focus on something so many days out, but we do want to give you a bit of a heads up on this weekend because we have potential for some freezing rain here in southern Ontario. You can see it on this particular model run. That's the area in pink. And right now it looks like this is going to be impacting areas mainly north of downtown Toronto, across the east and central sections of Ontario too. Now, I want to remind you the difference between ice pellets and freezing rain. With freezing rain, it looks and feels like plain rain or regular rain, but it does create some very slippery conditions, and that's the risk that we're looking at into this weekend. So again, just a heads up, if you do have some travel plans, we'll take you through the 7-day forecast. Nice looking day for tomorrow, and then it becomes quite unsettled. You're watching CTV News at noon. We'll be right back.
Toronto police are now providing an update on the death of a pedestrian in Scarborough this morning. This is Duty Inspector Brian Maslowski speaking to reporters. Let's listen to hear the update.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Maslowski. I'm a duty senior officer with the Toronto Police Service, here to give you an update on the collision investigation behind me. This morning at approximately 9:50 a.m., our 911 center received multiple calls for a personal injury collision at the intersection behind me at Brimwood Boulevard and Bridley Drive. When officers arrived, they learned that a 15-year-old female pedestrian had been struck by a black Honda. Our emergency services, paramedics attended on scene, and despite best efforts, the pedestrian was pronounced. Our officers are currently on scene. Traffic investigation is leading the investigation. If anyone happened to be in the neighborhood at Brimwood Boulevard and Bridley Drive, please contact 416-808-1900. We're looking for witnesses, dash cam video, or any other type of evidence. As you see, our traffic reconstructionists are on scene. They are gathering evidence and speaking to witnesses. I'd also like to say at this time, our heart goes out to the family of the victim and our condolences. I'll be able to take a few questions. The driver is cooperating. As you see, Brimwood is not necessarily directly east-west, but the black Honda was traveling approximately easterly in an easterly direction on Brimwood, and they were making a left-hand turn onto Bridley Drive. That's what we know right now. And as I mentioned, the driver did remain on scene and is cooperating with the investigation.
Did the car skip the curb? Did it go up on the curb? It seems it came to the rest of that tree over there. Can you describe, you said it was making a turn. Did it go up on the sidewalk?
We're still early on in the investigation. The traffic reconstructionists are just piecing it all together. What we do know is that after the left-hand turn that was done on the roadway, we're still trying to determine what happened afterwards to have the person, the driver, strike the tree after the collision.
You're listening to a live news conference in Scarborough. Tragic news to report this noon hour. A 15-year-old girl is our city's latest pedestrian fatality. She was struck around 9:50 this morning by a black Honda that was making a left-hand turn from Brimwood onto Bridley. This was in Scarborough. This is the early stages of the investigation. Police are still trying to determine the circumstances. They have collision reconstruction on scene, and we will continue to follow this developing story.
All right, we're switching gears, talking about the forecast, and today's a little chilly this morning, but at least we can say tomorrow's going to be a bit better.
We're definitely looking for brighter days ahead because it is spring, but it has been cold, and then you've got the wind you were talking about earlier and the potential for flurries. So winter's still in the mix.
Winter's still very much in the mix. You could say it has a grip on us this week because even though tomorrow is going to be quite lovely weather-wise, this weekend brings us not only some active weather, but potentially some significant ice accretion, which can be quite dangerous if you do have travel plans, which many people do on the weekends. So we'll take you through what it's looking like could play out right now. This is still a couple of days away, but yes, we will look forward to tomorrow ahead of that. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Once again, it has been a mostly cloudy start to the day today. Now midday, we are enjoying some sun in some areas, but we've also had quite a bit of flurry activity on and off, and this has been impacting downtown Toronto as well as areas further to the north, thanks in part to those northwest winds contributing to some lake effect snow. That certainly was the case earlier today in southwestern Ontario, London, and then southwest of that. You can still see a pretty intense little band bringing some measurable snow to that part of our province. This is all going to clear out as we make our way through late this afternoon, overnight, and into tomorrow, waking up to sunny skies for your Thursday. Here is the forecast radar. That's about 6 p.m. today. So again, lots of clearing, especially around the southwest. Might hold on to some cloud cover in through eastern sections of Ontario. And then tomorrow, your Thursday, starts off brilliantly. We might get a few clouds increase as we make our way into the afternoon. Maybe some passing showers or flurries again in through the Ottawa Valley, maybe portions of Muskoka. And then Friday begins dry with some cloud, but then here's what happens as we make our way into Friday night. So this is just a snapshot of the low pressure system that's expected to swing on through. This is going to be very temperature dependent. So right now it looks like it could be warm enough right along the lakeshore, downtown Toronto, in through Mississauga, Halton region, and through parts of Durham. This might just be a rain event, but anywhere north of Toronto and surrounding areas, we could be in for a prolonged period of freezing rain where that ice starts to build up and again makes conditions quite slippery. And that's not just Friday night. The risk is going to be there for Saturday and Sunday too, depending on how temperatures are once again. It is 1 degree right now in Toronto. Our forecast daytime high today is 3. That is colder than normal. 7 is the average at this time of year. Still, this evening is going to be quite nice for an evening stroll if you want to bundle up. And then overnight tonight, we drop near -4 degrees, wind chill -6. There's our glorious looking day for tomorrow. Double digit 10 is what we're forecasting under mostly sunny skies. And then here's your 7-day forecast. So Friday, daytime high 4, overnight -1. Notice how at this point temperatures over the weekend remain close to the freezing mark. That increases the potential for some freezing rain. We warm up slightly into the day on Monday. That's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. CTV News Toronto at 6 has received a nomination for a top honor in Canadian broadcasting. Our 6 p.m. newscast is among the nominees for Best Local Newscast, announced by the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television. CTV Toronto is among 5 nominees. The nominations for the 2025 Canadian Screen Awards were announced this morning. There are 149 film, television, and digital media categories, and the award winners will be announced May 30th.
Lady Gaga says she's taking her music on the road. This month, the Grammy Award winner released her latest studio album, Mayhem. She was already scheduled to play Coachella Music Festival and a number of other shows around the globe this spring, but Gaga says the incredible response to her album inspired her to plan the Mayhem Ball Global Tour. It'll take over Scotiabank Arena September 11th and 12th.
This was the perfect way for us to kick off this next chapter of our journey. We're so grateful to each and every person that showed up.
And the Jonas Brothers are sharing more details about their upcoming 20th anniversary tour. After holding a JonasCon event in their home state of New Jersey this week, the band says they'll bring the fan experiences to 10 cities this summer. It's billed as including karaoke and trivia events, as well as merch trades and themed takeovers of local businesses. JonasCon will take place before shows on the Living the Dream tour, which plays Rogers Centre August 21st.
The University of Toronto has named its next president. The university's governing council has chosen Melanie Wooden to take on the role. Wooden is a professor in the school's Department of Cells and Systems Biology and Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Science. She's also president of the Canadian Association for Neuroscience. Wooden will be the 17th person to serve as U of T president and the first woman. She'll officially take over from outgoing president Merrick Gertler July 1st.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, a warning from police when it comes to buying and selling goods online. We'll have that story after the break.
We have a warning today about a concerning trend when people are buying or selling goods online.
Ottawa police say there's been an increase in-person robberies linked to listings on platforms such as Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji. CTV's Tyler Fleming explains.
A good deal online can be easy to find through sites like Facebook and Kijiji. Just ask Samad Jabour.
I've bought a couple clothes off of online, and I bought a couple furniture.
His experiences so far?
No issues, thank God.
Because clicks can come with danger.
We had one that was a dirt bike.
Cassia Maves jumped on the sale, but after a few messages,
they played into the heartstrings a little bit on a family emergency, asked if we could send money, they would come deliver.
Maves backed away, but not everyone does.
It's intimidating.
Now, police warn of rising robberies linked to online market sites as a meetup for the transaction can become a violent theft.
And we're working to hold those responsible accountable for these offenses. But really, there's lots that the public can do to make sure they don't put themselves in these situations.
Police urge buyers and sellers to meet in well-lit public spaces. And for added safety, consider using one of the 3 safe trade zones across the city. Located at police stations in Orleans, downtown, and Canada, parking spaces are marked in blue with cameras always recording. Avoid using your home address, do not agree to a last-minute location change, and be cyber savvy.
I have to make sure that it's a legit owner and it's a legit person.
You can actually look at the history of the seller.
And never pay up front. Tech experts say in many cases, victimization begins online and criminals have the advantage.
They'll also ask for personal information or banking information. That is also a clear tell. If I'm buying something used on Marketplace, I don't have to hand over personal or financial information to anybody.
And if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is.
It's one of those things that you just have to, but listen to your gut. It's usually right.
Tyler Fleming, CTV News.
We are getting our first look at what's being billed as Canada's longest and fastest launch coaster.
It's the new AlpenFury roller coaster that is under construction at Canada's Wonderland, and that's where we find CTV's Andrea Case now. She's shaking her head. Am I guessing you're not a coaster girl?
You got it, Michelle. You got it. Okay, so 41 years ago, Canada's Wonderland opened, and believe it or not, there are 18 coasters in the park right now. Well, there will be when AlpenFury opens up. In preparation for when the ride opens, I need to practice.
Yes, you do.
So you say hands up, but I'm saying give me your hand. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Woo! If you are a fan of amusement park roller coasters, Canada's Wonderland is your destination, but you'll have to wait for AlpenFury. It is currently under construction. Grace Peacock is the Regional Director of Public Relations for Canada's Wonderland.
This thing is going to be wicked because it is the longest, tallest, fastest launch coaster in Canada, but record-breaking for the number of inversions it's going to have, 9. You won't have a launch coaster anywhere in the world that's got 9 coasters or 9 inversions, but this unique experience is going to take you into Wonder Mountain and then launch you straight vertical 50 meters into the sky before gravity's going to take you racing through all those inversions. So it's going to be a wild ride and nothing anybody's ever had before.
Okay, Syria, I'm not thrilled about this, but Syria Kadam is an engineer who takes summers off and works at the park operating rides.
I've been coming here for 15 years, and it's just the vibe, it's the people, it's the adrenaline of the rides. I absolutely love everything about it. Obviously, like when Wonderland built a ride like Leviathan, world class, super tall, fast, that was absolutely amazing. And they just kept adding these amazing attractions, right? Now we get AlpenFury, 9 inversions in 60 seconds. That's crazy to think about.
I'm scared. If you have the guts and the stomach for a roller coaster, Canada's Wonderland has a lot to offer. The park opens May 8th, but AlpenFury won't be available until later this spring. So you have lots of time to practice your scream. Yeah, I've got that down. Okay, so for those who don't want to take the ride, you're called purse holders, and I'm happy with that. Maybe I'll give it a try when it opens. I'll have to find Syria, and we'll come back and be reunited. Okay, so the park, of course, is going to be opening in a little while. For those who really want to go on this ride, they have early ride passes, so if you have the pass, you can come in early and get on that ride. So make your plans now, and maybe I'll see you here. Reporting from Canada's Wonderland, I'm Andrea Case, Michelle Nathan. Send it back to you.
Thanks, Andrea. Give me that purse. Well, the Maple Leafs pulled off a convincing win against the Philadelphia Flyers last night.
Tavares plays that back for Nylander. Shoots, scores! Nylander, 5-1 Toronto.
William Nylander's 40th goal of the season gave the Leafs a 4-goal lead in the second period. The team went on to win it 7-2. The Leafs will be back on the ice on Thursday to play the San Jose Sharks. Well, patriotic pride is on display every day at Toronto's Little Canada exhibit.
But amid a cross-border trade war, a new initiative is showcasing Canadian-owned and operated businesses in a tiny but powerful way. CTV's Jessica Smith has the story.
Proudly Canadian, putting Canada first, one locally owned business at a time.
We created this opportunity called Mini Media, where we can offer companies to advertise their brands within our little world.
Mini Media is an initiative by Little Canada to support Canadian businesses from coast to coast to coast for free.
Canada has brands that are unique. They tell a unique Canadian story. And this gives the opportunity not only to advertise, but also to tell that story.
Everything from scenery, from multiculturalism, it's just beautiful.
It's wonderful here. And it's like beautiful when you come here.
There are 5 Mini Media billboards mixed throughout the 45,000 square foot Little Canada display. Each month, a different proudly Canadian business will be featured.
These billboards, these video screens, they're even vehicles. We have vehicles that run on our world with Canadian brands represented.
This month, it's a small business, North Halton's Reserve, a family business that makes small batch maple syrup from Georgetown, Ontario. The Mini Media campaign will remain ongoing and free to Canadian businesses big and small. And if you want to participate, you can visit little-canada.ca. Jessica Smith, CTV News, Toronto.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
In health news, a unique way to help people left with permanent scarring and the ongoing reminder of surgical procedures.
A company began creating temporary tattoos to mask mastectomy and C-section scars. And as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, they're now finding a new clientele.
So it's water with a cloth or something.
Yeah, just a wet washcloth.
You may have seen children applying temporary tattoos this way for fun. But for people who have large scars due to mastectomies or cesarean sections, the need to mask those scars can be even more important.
I have this scar across my tummy, and I've often thought about getting a tattoo, but I didn't like the idea of the permanency, and I didn't like the idea of the pain. And if you've ever had a scar, you'll know it's kind of numb and it's kind of sensitive.
10 years ago, Denise O'Connell developed a line of specially shaped temporary tattoos to mask abdominal scars.
And it wasn't long before breast cancer survivors and previvors found our product, because I didn't realize this, but breast reconstructions often take tissue from the tummy to build a breast.
The company, Tuck Tats, has sold products around the world as far as the Middle East and Australia. The designs, made of medical-grade materials, are a little edgy to hide not just the physical healing, but also help the psychological healing.
So it really helps, especially if you're outside and it's like you're going to the beach or you're shirtless and there's double incision scars, especially if you don't want other people to know, because a lot of trans people right now are what they would call stealth.
Fitness trainer Miles Lala was interested in trying out the newest line of tuck tats released last month and specially designed for those who've gone through top surgery in the trans community. While he had keyhole surgery done, meaning he had no long incisions or scars, he understands the appeal of tattoos, both permanent and temporary.
My body is art for me, so it's an expression of myself. And I think that a lot of tattoos for me have a lot of meaning as well.
The tattoos last up to a week, depending on your body chemistry. You can find out more at tucktats.com. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
When it comes to a federal election, speaking with voters is a good way to get a sense of what really matters when it comes to the issues.
In Hamilton, the campaign was the talk of the donut shop during a recent visit. CTV's John Vinavalley-Rao was there.
While Hamilton is home to major steel producers, historically shaping its economy and skyline, it's also billed as the city of waterfalls and a hotspot for young families fleeing Toronto for more affordable housing. And it's at this popular donut shop.
They're just classic. They're just the best classic donuts you can get.
That we asked Hamiltonians the question.
What is your top priority heading into this election that the politicians need to do?
Somebody who can stand up to Trump. Definitely.
Make sure we stay Canada and not become one of the 51st state.
The tariff and border crisis, for sure.
As they served up donuts, Trump trumping all other issues. But what are some other priorities?
Taking care of the elderly. Like we need more homes. We need better care in the hospitals as we age. And I'm aging, so I know I'm a little worried.
Many here also expressing concerns about the cost of living and inflation.
Shop owner Samantha Whips is worried about the price of ingredients going up and affordability issues in general.
The cost of living, really, honestly, for everybody. The cost, I mean, it trickles down to the business, obviously, so the cost for everything is honestly the biggest concern.
Customer Leo Cordova told us he's working 3 jobs to make ends meet, and he'd like to see the government somehow get wages up.
Everything's too expensive. Let's just put it that way.
With voters having lots to think about and digest ahead of Election Day. John Vinavalley-Rao, CTV News, Hamilton.
Independent booksellers say they are caught in the middle of the Canada-U.S. trade war, and they're warning of disaster.
In an unprecedented move, books are included in Canada's counter tariffs on American goods. CTV's Angela McKenzie reports.
At Pulp Books and Cafe in Verdun, owner Alec Nierenhausen is bracing for impact.
Margins for independent bookstores in general, are some of the slimmest in the retail industry. So we really cannot afford to take any kind of hit.
But a big hit is expected to come April 2nd. Canada's next set of 25% counter tariffs on U.S. goods will include books, a move Nierenhausen says will affect more than half of Pulp's books, will devastate Canada's literary industry, and will have little impact on the U.S. economy.
We can't absorb the 25% tariff ourselves. We would shutter within weeks, not months.
Faced with unaffordable books costing $5 to $15 more, Nierenhausen fears readers will turn to sites like Amazon, which he says can afford to absorb the tariffs. It's not only American books that will be affected. Some English-language Canadian books are printed in the U.S. and then shipped to Canada, especially if they're with a major publishing house. Even Prime Minister Mark Carney's book is printed south of the border.
Books should not become weaponized in this really complex and ongoing trade war. It would be unprecedented.
The head of the Association of English Language Publishers of Quebec says cultural products, including books, have been exempt from tariffs in the past. The fear is the U.S. could respond in kind by taxing books coming from Canada, a huge blow to Canadian authors and publishers who rely heavily on sales in the U.S.
We do not want our great Canadian books going to the States to have any, disincentive to be purchased by American bookstores or libraries.
In the meantime, independent bookstores across the country have been calling on readers to write to their MP.
We have to rally the troops. We have to start making some noise.
Hoping to have books removed from the tariff list in their fight for a happier ending. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
Have you ever been in an office lottery pool? Well, imagine actually winning and winning big. It happened to a group of coworkers from here in the GTA.
Three,
2, 1. $60 million Lotto Box jackpot.
Growing up, I think there is a perception of Lunar New Year's is always start of something new. So almost a week before Lunar New Year actually started, I was buying creamer for the office. I said, okay, let's grab our ticket here. And who would have known?
Thank goodness the office needed creamer. The group won that jackpot in a January 21st draw, and there's plenty of cash to go around. Each coworker gets a check for $12 million. And among these new multimillionaires, there are differing plans on what to do with the windfall, from buying a home, a car, doing some traveling, and, hey, retirement.
Nice. Get creamer, win lottery.
Yes.
Nice.
We got too much creamer in the fridge here at work. Darn. Weather-wise, let's get you caught up. And we're going to warm up. We just have to get through today.
Yes, and we have to get through tonight. It is going to be quite chilly through these overnight hours tonight. -4, wind chill -8. There's tomorrow, though. Forecast high 10 degrees. Lots of sunshine. But one more look at our unsettled forecast Friday through the weekend with that risk of freezing rain. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Ethan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.